Hello and welcome to the first lecture of this new section on building human in the loop operating models. In this course, AI for managers and leaders. So in this particular lecture, we will talk about how can you insert human checkpoint as a part of human in the loop operating models, human in the loop operating models. How can you insert human checkpoints at appropriate moments when the high ambiguity or risk is there? So let's take a look at it. So how do you think you can do that? How can you insert human checkpoints at the moments of high ambiguity or risk? Any thoughts? Inserting human checkpoints at the moment of high ambiguity on risk is how leaders can prevent silent automation failure, right? And that can, while you prevent that, how can you still capture AI speed and scale? And this is an operating model design decision, not a technology tweak. So how to do that? Let's take a look at a clear practical framework that you as a manager or leader can implement immediately. Let's take a look at that. So start by defining the principle. So define the principle which should be negotiable. Start with the leadership rule. When uncertainty or human impact is high, automation must pause for human judgment. And this principle should be written into AI governance policy, operating procedures, and risk and compliance guidelines. So define and include them in such critical documents and policies. Second thing would be to identify the human checkpoints, these checkpoint moments, right? And these checkpoints should be tied to decision conditions, not time or process steps. And these mandatory human checkpoints should trigger when the confidence is low, below a defined threshold, confidence of AI as well as yours. The data is incomplete or drifting. People are directly impacted by the decision. Outcomes cannot be reversed when their decisions are irreversible. There are risks from ethical, legal, or reputation point of view. And the patterns that AI sees conflict with the lived business reality, right? So in such points, you need to identify the checkpoints. And if any trigger is present, you need a human review that, right? So identify checkpoint moments like this. Then classify decision by ambiguity and risk. You can use a simple 2 by 2 model that you see here. When the ambiguity and risk both are low, you can auto execute through AI can auto execute that task. And when the ambiguity is low but the risk is high, you need human approval. And when ambiguity is high and the risk is low, yes, simple human review could be good enough. And when both are high, ambiguity is high as well as risk is high, you need a senior management intervention and decision. This will ensure that the checkpoints are targeted and not simply procedural or bureaucratic. So do that. So classify decisions by ambiguity and risk and appropriately decide. Then embed checkpoints directly into workflows, right? Now, human checkpoints must be system enforced, not optional. Now, so you should get them embedded directly into the workflow. And how to do that? You know, let's say AI generates a recommendation. The system should pause execution then till the time named human receives a decision pack and approves or overrides that is required to proceed. And if there is no approval, there is no action. So embed checkpoints directly into workflow. This will ensure that for every critical decision that you've classified, you have human review or human oversight happening. Then provide decision ready context at the checkpoint, right? Humans should not review raw decision output, raw AI decision output, right? Each checkpoint should include things like AI recommendation, confidence and uncertainty about the recommendation, key drivers and assumptions in reaching that recommendation, what is unusual or changing, what is not being seen, what are the blind spots, and what is the potential human impact. And this will enable informed judgment, not guesswork. So provide decision ready context at the checkpoint. Important point is at the checkpoint, right? Then assign and name the checkpoint owner. Every checkpoint must have a named decision owner, you know, with clear authority to approve or override, and escalation path for higher risk committee, right? And here, let's remember that committees can advise, but finally it is the individuals who will decide. So assign a named checkpoint owner. Then you require explicit human judgment in this whole process. At each checkpoint, you should have human to state, approve or override or escalate with the reasoning, which is brief but clear and explicit. The background, the context that has been considered, and this will ensure that accountability stays very much human, right? So that's what is required for explicit human judgment. Then you need to log and review the checkpoint decisions. Human checkpoints can create the learning loop. So you need to track things like how often checkpoints trigger, override versus approval rates of the system, where AI struggled, and where human judgment added value. And on a quarterly basis, what you should do is to review, if, review quarterly to improve the models, refine thresholds, and sharpen human judgment as well. So review and log decision checkpoints. Also, you need to protect leaders who slow down automation, right? So checkpoint will fail if leaders fear consequences of pausing. So the leadership must reward thoughtful slowdowns, nominate escalations, treat judgment as skill, not friction, and the speed. This will ensure you have speed that is with responsibility. Otherwise, speed without responsibility is plain simple failure. So protect leaders who slow down automation genuinely. Also codify never automate zones, because some decision must always include a human checkpoint. Example: hiring, firing, and promotion, credit denial or financial exclusion, compliance actions, customer ban or service terminations, or safety and security actions. Now, here in these never automate zones, AI may inform but never finalize. Let's take a look at a one page human checkpoint playbook that you can use. So, the first principle in this playbook is to define ambiguity and risk triggers very clearly. What is ambiguity, what is risk, what is not, that you need to define. And then embed the triggers into the system. The pauses must be embedded into the system and provide decision ready context at the points of consideration, assign a named owner, and require explicit judgment from the named owner, and then log and learn from the outcomes. So that's your playbook for human checkpoint. So, what's the leadership bottom line? AI moves fast, right? But human judgment moves wisely, and checkpoints make the difference. If you don't have a checkpoint, the judgment will move fast, but may be wrong completely. So if you want to make sound judgments, right judgment, use the checkpoints wherever AI is involved so that judgment slows down and makes a wise decision. So why should this work now? It prevents silent AI failures because now you have checkpoints where humans are reviewing. So there's nothing happening behind the scene. Also, it preserves accountability with humans, right? Not with AI. Also protects people and trust because people are backed up. Improves decision quality over a period of time because the decisions are being reviewed. The critical, high risk, high ambiguity decisions are being reviewed. And it keeps leaders in control. So that's why this should work. So what is next? So we will look at Another part of how to build human in the loops, we talked about designing escalation paths. So how do you design escalation paths where AI uncertainty will trigger human review? So that's what we will look at in the next lecture. So thank you so much for watching this first lecture on building humans in the loop operating model. I hope you're continuing to learn new things, continuing to enjoy, and I do look forward to see you again in the next lecture. Please feel free to message me if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer your questions, and do download the PDF file to take a look at anything that you need.